Now we're going to pick up on Daniel's prophecy, Nebuchadnezzar's dream, Daniel chapter 2, verse 37 through 44. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. He saw the Babylon New World Order, which is the head of gold. Here you have the Medes and Persians as the body. And then as you go on here, you got the Greece. These are each one of the kingdoms of the New World Order, and Rome. So you have Babylon, kingdom, the Medes and Persian kingdom, the Greece kingdom, and the Roman kingdom. And then it says the Rome split into two legs of iron, and what we're going to focus on is the feet, because as you see here, the feet come back together in his dream, and it's part iron. It represents the state, which we went through the states, and then the part clay is all of a sudden, for the first time, there's another element that mixes in with the iron, and it's the clay. And we're going to get into what the clay is, which is the church. And each one of the kingdoms, as you see, here's gold represents Babylon, silver is Persia, bronze is Greece, iron is Rome. And then when you get down to the feet, you got a mixture for the first time. You have the state, then there's another element that comes in to being, and into the feet. And as you see here, here's Nebuchadnezzar's feet. And as you can see, you got the iron, got the legs of iron, and it comes down. Then all of a sudden another element comes into being. The clay is mixed in with iron. And as we see here, the feet represents the iron is the state, mixed with the clay is the church-state relations. And we're going to get into that more to show you the proof there. And here you see the iron cross. Most are familiar with the iron cross right here. Now this iron cross represents two different things, and here's the Third Reich flag, as you see here with the iron cross. And the Third Reich, and as we see here, Hitler always wore, the only metal he wore on his uniform was the iron cross that we see right here. Iron mixed with clay, church and state relationship. As you see on Hitler's uniform, there's the iron cross right there. Iron represents the state, the cross represents the church. We'll get into more of that. And here's Adolf Hitler. Obviously we covered, this is the Roman salute right here. He's given the Roman salute. And we covered that in video 1. Now we're going to back up into history and find out what this symbol represents. And here we see, this is the 9th century BC Babylonian sun god Shamash from the British Museum. That's where you can find it, from the British Museum. This is a rock they found at Babylon. And here you see on his chest, we see what is called the Iron Cross. This goes all the way back to Babylon. And right here we see that it's a sun symbol of Baal. It's a sun symbol of Baal cross right here. The mystery Babylon roots, you can look that up in Revelation 17:5, talks about this mystery Babylon church, goes back to Baal, the sun-crossed Babylonian god of the sun worship. And here you see the Pope, and of course the Pope always has the iron cross here, and the iron cross always has dead Jesus. There's always a dead Jesus on the iron cross. They celebrate death and not life. And Jesus is always on the cross dead. And here you see the iron cross. The Pope always displays the iron cross and everything. And as we'll show you, he's the false prophet. Here in Revelation 17:5 it says, "And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth." And here we see that Hitler was just a puppet of the Roman Empire, of the Holy Roman Empire, and we'll get into that more. Here's more proof that this symbol here represents the sun. This is the Babylonian sun symbol. It's not a Christian cross. It's the ancient symbol of Baal. Baal worship, the sun god. And here, where did this come from? It came from a Babylonian seal impression of the 14th century BC. And as you see, you can find the Babylonian plow is located at the Museum of the University of Pennsylvania. And this is where they have this here. You could see the so-called farmers plow in the field. And here in the sky, you see the sun symbol, worship of Baal. And now you see why this was found on a rock, carved right into the Babylonian sun god Shamash, right around his neck, is the same symbol of the sun god Baal. This is out of Newsweek, and here you see they said the Ankh has been transformed into a Christian cross. So obviously, this symbol right here was before Christianity, and we know it goes back from Baal to Babylon. And here you see it on the Egyptian tombs, the Christian, so-called Christian cross. And this is right out of Newsweek, and here you see it again, the Christian cross. And here it is out of the Newsweek article. Trying to spend a little bit of time on this because we got to clarify that this cross here that's on an Egyptian tomb goes back to Babylon, that it goes back to the sun symbol, that the Catholic Church is nothing but a Babylon religion, just like it says here in Revelation 17:5, and the mystery Babylon is the great, is this harlot church. Now you understand now where this symbol comes from. It is a symbol of Baal worship, the sun god Baal. Now we're going to get into what was mixed in with iron is clay, and we'll prove to you that the clay is the church and the iron is the state. Before we could talk to you about the Third Reich, Hitler's Third Reich, we must back up to the First Reich and find out what the First Reich is all about. And the First Reich is the Holy Roman Empire. Now, why do they call it holy? Because holy represents the church, and the state is the Holy Roman Empire is the state, and so we got church and state marriage, church and state marriage. Now, this is Charlemagne. He's the first emperor of the Holy Roman Empire right here. And as you see here, he has the crown, which represents the state, and you have the church, it represents the cross right here, church and state marriage. And as you see here, in one hand he has the sword, represents the power of the state, and over here on his other hand is the cross that represents the church. So you have the church and state marriage. Here is the Holy Reich crown. There's the crown, the state, and the church. Marriage. And here's Charlemagne, right here, being crowned by the Pope. Right here. Here's the Pope right here. And he's crowned in Charlemagne. Now this happened at 800 AD. That's when the First Reich, which is the Holy Roman Empire, church and state, that lasted 1,000 years from 800 AD to 1800 AD. You can look that up in your encyclopedia. Very easy to find. Now this right here is the flag of the Holy Roman Empire. And we have a church and state relationship here. Now pay attention. We'll examine this closely. As you see here, you have on one side is the state, which is a sword. And here's the mace. We covered that in Roman 1 video, DVD. That represents the Roman magistrates of authority, the mace. And then you got the sword, which is the power of the state. And on the other side, you have the cross, represents the church. On this side, you have the three doves, represents the church. Here you have the dragon and the sword. And so one head of the bird is the state, and the other head is the church. So we have a church-state symbol here, and this is the Holy Roman Empire flag, the First Reich flag. This is the Morals and Dogma, the Freemasonry official book written by Albert Pike. And here we see the same symbol of the Holy Roman Empire. And here you see the double-headed bird, and here you have the Freemasonry symbol, and here you have the state, and then you got the church. We'll have a closer symbol there. You can see the church and state right there. There's the cross, the Iron Cross, and there's the state, and here we have the New World Order emblem that's bringing it all together. Here's the front cover of the Freemasonry book, and here it says in Latin, "Order out of chaos." Isn't that interesting? And there's the Holy Roman Empire emblem, and here you have the church and state, as you see. Whoops, back it up right here, the church and state symbol, and the all-seeing eye is when everything accumulates and comes together under their New World Order plan. This is the 33rd degree of Freemasonry emblem, and right here is the 33rd degree emblem. And as you see here, here's the Iron Cross, you got the church, and here you got the state, the cross right here, the swords, and right up here is the three fingers of the Holy Trinity of the Roman Church, that when you swear an oath to the Pope, that's the symbol you use. These are the degrees of Freemasonry. On one side you have the Scottish Rite and the different degrees, and we'll take a close-up here. And as you start out in the Scottish Rite. As you move up the rankings, look what we have here. We have the Knight of the East. Anything that has knight on it in the dictionary, Webster Dictionary, says knight is a servant of the Roman Empire. Anyway, here you got Grand Pontiff. There's the Pope right there, number 19. And as you move up, you have the Knights of St. Andrew, Saint Knight of the Sun, S-U-N. And on the other side, you have the York Rite. And as you move up the rankings, here you have the Order of the Red Cross, the Order of the Knights of Malta. Now as you go up to the 33rd degree, this is the official seal of the 33rd degree. Here you see Order out of Chaos in Latin. There's the cross, and there's the state, the two swords. And right there is the three-finger salute. And this is the Swiss Guard that defends the Pope at the Vatican. And there you see the three fingers of the salute there. Now this represents swearing allegiance to the Pope. So whenever you see this, this is swearing allegiance to the Pope. Each one of these fingers represents the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's what, it's the Holy Trinity salute. This is the flag of the Second Reich. This is World War I. They tried to institute after the First Reich fell apart. And here you see the Iron Cross, Church and State. And right here, this is the Third Reich. So you see there's the Iron Cross of Babylon, right here. Represents the Church and State. And right here you can see the different Third Reich flags. Now you got to remember that Hitler fought for the First World War I, the Second Reich, in his younger days. He was in the military and fought in World War I to establish the Second Reich. He lost, and then he became the leader of the Third Reich. He was leader of World War II and the Third Reich, and here you see he was trying to establish that. That failed. Now we're entering into the Fourth Reich. This church-state relationship was responsible for Jesus Christ having been arrested and executed. As you go back and you read the New Testament, you'll find out that the church voted to have Christ executed, but didn't have the power of the state to execute him. And so the church leaders went to the state Pilate to have Jesus Christ crucified. So here the church-state relationship has gone all the way back to Jesus Christ's death and crucifixion. That's why you got the Catholic Church always has Jesus' death, because of the church and state relationship of Rome killing Christ. And that's how they celebrate it. And you notice he's always dead on the cross. This is the BBC Friday the 2nd of June 2000 out of the BBC newspaper. And here it says that Clinton to receive the Holy Roman Charlemagne Prize. My goodness, wasn't that the first emperor of the Holy Roman Empire? There he is. There's Charlemagne, the first emperor of the First Reich. There he is, Charlemagne. And here's the article out of the BBC. And listen to what this article goes on to say. It says here that Clinton is loyal to Europe even after the Cold War. And the article continues, and it says, Mr. Clinton was speaking in Germany, and after receiving the prestigious Charlemagne Prize in recognition of services to the European peace and unity, it's interesting that Mr. Clinton is the first United States president to receive the prize. Then it goes on and says, the award citation says that Mr. Clinton is being honored particularly for the U.S. military efforts to preserve the rule of law in the Balkans, U.S. NATO air attacks in Bosnia in 1995 and Kosovo in 1999, ended military offenses. Now, if you start studying, you find out that they were bombing, the Catholics were bombing the Greek Orthodox in Bosnia and Kosovo, and also the Muslims. And this is how they clean the territory out for mainly the Catholics. But it's interesting here. There is Bill Clinton receiving the Charlemagne Prize, right there. The Fourth Reich, the coming Fourth Reich, European Union, and we're right in bed with them. Once a year, the Catholic Church brings out their skull and bones to pray over them. So when you're made a saint, you can pray to the saints instead of God. It's interesting that they call the Pope the Holy Father. That is totally blasphemy in the Scriptures. There's only one Holy Father, and for him to claim he's Holy Father is just blasphemy, like the Scriptures say. And as you see here, they celebrate the church and state death of Christ. Of course, we're going to get more into the skull and bones connection of the Catholic Church. This is out of Newsweek, February 29, 2008, and the headline reads, Secrets of the Inquisition. And right here you see, what we see here is dead Jesus on a cross. And look, pay attention very carefully here of the skull and crossbones connection. Look what they got on the very bottom of the cross. Look at that. There's the skull and crossbones right there. Now this drawing was corrected by the Holy Office right here, the Vatican's Inquisition exhibits. And here they corrected the drawing to eliminate graphic spouts of blood from Jesus' knees. And so if they corrected it, why in the heavens do they got the skull and crossbones right there at the feet of Jesus? That's just fascinating. Of course, they're telling you that they celebrate death and not life. Again, this is Newsweek, The Secrets of the Inquisition. These two are on top of the Freemasonry world, most powerful men in the world. This is the former Dutch Black Pope, the general of the Jesuits, Peter Hans Kovenbach. Now he stepped down of January 2008 and was replaced by the new general, Adolfo Nicholas. And interesting, Adolfo Nicholas. So that's interesting. Strong connection of the Third Reich. He was these two. The reason these two are put together is because that means that World War III will be huge, needing the oversight of essentially two generals coordinating the Black Pope's 10 assistants overseeing the 91 provincials throughout the world. So now they're teamed up together. These are the actual real powers of the world that they're called. Interesting, the Black Pope, they wear black, and they call the other Pope the White Pope, and he's basically the puppet of this new general here. The Black Pope meets with the Knights of Malta, and here you see the former Grand Master of the Knights of Malta meeting with the Pope. And here you see the Iron Cross. Of course, that's the official seal of the Knights of Malta, is the Iron Cross. And that's the order. And every time you see the Grand Master of the Knights of Malta, he's always pictured with the European Union leaders. Here he is right here, shaking the hands of one. And here's the European Union flag. There's another president of the European Union. So he's pictured all over the place. And here is Admiral Meyer Rothschilds. He's the guardian of the Vatican's treasury right here. And you could see right there, what do you see on him? You see the Iron Cross, or the Knights of Malta, or the Maltese Cross. They call it two different things, but it means the same thing. The Maltese Cross. There's Hitler. Of course, you know this goes back to Baal. I showed that to you on the Babylonian sun god, Shamash. And here you see Hitler and the rest of them wearing it. They found these at Hitler's paintings, and here you see the Disney characters of Snow White, Doc, and of course you got Pinocchio. So it's interesting that Walt Disney is picking up the paintings of Adolf Hitler, and here we go right here. This was came out on February 23rd, 2008. You can look this up on the internet. That Adolf Hitler draw Disney characters, and look at that. I mean, it's just even in our cartoons. Yeah, sorry for being all over the map, but I got so much information, and I've been gathering for the last couple of years since Roman 1 and Roman 2 came out. But I have to show you this again. John Surratt was one of Booth's bodyguards. This is the Pope's bodyguard. John H. Surratt was one of Booth's accomplices. And this is the official wanted poster that was put out by the War Department April of 1865. And here you see John Surratt. He was one of the accomplices of John Booth, who murdered Abraham Lincoln. And here you see right here, it says right here, $25,000 reward of the apprehension of John H. Surratt, one of Booth's accomplices. Right there. And so this is big. I know I keep repeating it in some of my other videos, but this is the original wanted poster, and you rarely even hear about how they captured this guy, and we'll tell you about that. And here is Jesuit John Harrison Surratt, the one that was on the wanted poster, the right-hand man of Booth. And here he is in his papal uniform at the time of his arrest and return to the United States. And here you see him in his Pope's uniform. He was caught as the Pope's bodyguard at the Vatican. Everybody around the world knew that there was a $25,000 reward, and everybody in the world knew that Abraham Lincoln was shot and looking for this man. And they caught him as the Pope's bodyguard. Anyway, the Travel Channel, I got a clip of that where they admit that the Vatican was behind the assassination, and so a lot of stuff is coming out since. John Surratt was a Jesuit, and this is the oath that all Jesuits take. And this is found in Congress. It was 1913, February 15th, they recorded the Jesuit Extreme Oath. And it was recorded in the congressional records right here. And here's the House bill number, and here's the page, so you can find it. And here, as you take the oath of being a Jesuit, it says, now in the presence of Almighty God, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on, and to you, listen to this, to you, my ghostly father, the Superior General of the Society of Jesus. That's the general of the Jesuits. Founded by Ignatius Loyola. He was the first general of the Jesuits. And then he says to swear of the Catholic or Universal Church. Isn't that interesting? Catholic is an adjective in Greek that means universal church. So when you hear the word Catholic, it's the same meaning as universal. That's why they put both together throughout the earth. And then it goes on and it says the keys of binding and loosening right here. I do further declare, listen to this, and do my utmost, right here, to do my utmost to expedite or kill the heretical Protestant. See, we're at war with the Protestants. There's a lot of history here. And of course, to keep secret private Oliver agents, swear to you, my ghostly father, the general of the Jesuits. And look at this. And he says, I do further promise and declare that I will have what? No opinion or will of my own. And it goes on, as a corpse or cadaver, but unhesitatingly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superior in the militia of the Pope. Interesting, militia, that's military. You don't call the general a general for no reason. A general is the head of a military, a militia. And so you got to understand that the Black Pope is the head of a military. Okay? And they will wage relentless war secretly or openly against all heretics of the Protestants or Protestants. See, they protested. That's how this word was coined back in the 1500s when Martin Luther and those have protested against the Catholic Church, and that's where that word has came from. You can look that up in the Webster Dictionary. To exterminate them from the face of the whole earth. See that? They're at war with the Protestants. I will hang, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive these heretics, rip up the stomachs and wounds of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the wall. Sounds like what Freemasonry's take in their covenants, that they will do the same thing if they reveal their secrets. Interesting how it's all. And then it says, I will secretly use the poisonous cup, strangulated cord, steel of the poignard, right here, laden, or use the laden bullet, regardless of honor, rank, dignity, or authority. Anyway, this is the extreme oath of the Jesuits. You don't hear this anywhere else. It's very secretive. Here's a Catholic skull and crossbone connection. Here you see George Bush. They're getting the Ash Wednesday, the Catholic cross painted on their forehead by the Catholics. As you see here, the right hand over the left. Here you see the right hand over the left in the coffin. They always crossed the bones if they were Knights Templar to show that they were loyal to Rome. And then here's a skull and bone connection. Here's Egypt. Here you see the right hand over the left. Of course, you see the keys, the temporal. You got the temporal powers on earth, and you got the spiritual power, the keys in heaven. So temporal and spiritual, the right key over the left. And this is the papal tyra, that he reigns over heaven, earth, and hell. And you notice all the different generals, the Jesuits always depict a skull in their hands of death. This is a painting of the Roman goddess of war in the Senate side of the U.S. Capitol. Interesting, isn't it? And right here we'll focus in. Why do they have the Roman goddess of war? I guess Daniel was correct. This is also Jesuit Father James Marquette in the U.S. Capitol, and they got a statue of him here. And here he is, the Catholic Jesuit, and look, they have dead Jesus right there on the Roman bell cross. This is the Hezbollah salute, which is basically Roman, and you see here, they're doing the Roman salute. A lot of people believe it's the Hitler salute, but you look it up in the encyclopedia, that goes back to ancient Rome. This is the Palestinian salute. See that? Doing the Roman salute. So why is everybody doing the same salute? This is coming Fourth Reich. Here's on the back of your dollar bill, it says Novus Order Seclorum. New Order. Seclorum means world, secularism, world. So New World Order. And here you have the Holy See, represents the Pope. The Pope's territory is called the Holy See. And the pyramid is always built by Satanism, never by God. And here you see, what do you see right here? The all-seeing eye? This is the Catholic Church in Poland. Isn't that interesting? Look at that. There's the all-seeing eye. And right here you can see the Catholic Church here. Can't pronounce that name, in Poland. And here it is, right on the old dollar bill. And as you see here, this is inside the church. What do you see behind the Catholic priest? The all-seeing eye inside the pyramid. So you can see how they're all interconnected. Here's more proof that this symbol is not Christian. It goes back to Baal worship. This one right here, it was an artifact unearthed in the Holy of Holies of the pagan temple in Canaanite city of Hazor. Right there. And it's a symbol of the storm god Baal. Right there. So there you go. More symbolisms. The Roman Catholic Church puts it right there on their coin. Of course, on their golden cup in Revelations, there you see the same symbols of Baal worship. So here's more and more evidence found that this is not a Christian symbol. This is what Scripture, Revelation 17, tells us. It's Mystery Babylon, right there. This is Time magazine. It says here, who needs Washington? And there's Arnold Schwarzenegger right here, California governor. And right on his belt buckle, look what we see on his belt buckle right there. It's a skull and crossbones right on his belt buckle. And there it is blown up. And there you see the comparisons. Of course, George Bush was skull and bones. They're all members of the secret order of Bohemia. And here is Arnold at Vienna, right here, shaken. He just got back from the Mass of the Dead here in Vienna on May 29, 2006, when this picture was taken. And obviously the skull and bones was placed on the Pope's coffin. On the Pope John Paul I, who was only in office for 33 days, was murdered. And this symbol right here was carved into his coffin, on the foot part of his coffin. So you can see the skull and bones connection goes back to the First Reich of the Holy Roman Empire, Church and State. The Scriptures say, those who hate God love death, Proverbs 8:36. And here you see, this is Hitler's, one of their badges. Wewelsburg was going to be the center of the New World Order. I got a clip on the History Channel that shows you that this was the center of the Vatican New World Order. That's what the History Channel said. I got a copy of it. And here you got the skull and crossbones. How convenient that it's all linked together. And once a year they pull out their skulls and the bones of the saints so you can pray to them. And of course here's the skull and crossbones, and there's George Bush Sr. right there in Yale University. There's the bones. See that? And this is the California Church right here, the skull and crossbones. And this is the Santa Barbara mission in California, founded in 1786. Remember, Bill Clinton got the Charlemagne Prize for the Holy Roman Empire. And you cannot take the Catholic sacrament unless you are Roman Catholic. So here's more proof that Bill Clinton is Roman Catholic. Here you got Catholic John Kerry, even though they don't say they're Catholic. Look, they're taking the Eucharist, and you cannot take the Eucharist unless you're Roman Catholic. Only Catholics can take the sacrament. And there's the Bushes again. There's Jeb Bush, the brother of President Bush. As you see, he's Catholic. He's kneeling in front of the Pope. There's Senior Bush with the Pope. Ronald Reagan with the Pope. Here you got JFK and Nixon with the Pope. And there is also Bush meeting with the Pope, receiving the Virgin Mary. Idol worship. Ten Commandments tell us not to worship idols or make engraven images. Of course, JFK wasn't a very good Catholic because he didn't follow orders, and so he was assassinated. And here you see Colin Powell. They're always pictured with the Romans. There's Dick Cheney. And look at the papal pontiff. Oh, good son, good son. Of course, Al Gore and Bush mourn with the Roman Catholics. And here's a rare picture of the black pope with the white pope. The military general with the puppet pope. Now we're going to get into something that very few people are aware of. We're going to cover the red mass, the white mass, and the blue mass. This is what the Catholic Church has, these different masses to celebrate their fascist system. And here you got the red mass. We'll pull here. You got the red, white, and blue. Here you got the red, white, and blue, and it's fenced in by the gold fringe flag. That's why you go to court systems and everything, because basically it's a Roman Catholic 14th Amendment America. And the Supreme Court has ruled that there's two different citizenships in the United States. There's a 14th Amendment citizen, and then you got the original citizens. That's a whole different lecture. But here you got the red mass. They own the courts and the lawyers. You got the white mass. They own the what? The physicians, the agents of death. And the blue mass owns basically the police and the law enforcement. And we'll get into each one of these masks and prove to you. Now this one here is out of the Catholic Sun, November 1st, 2006. And listen to the headline. It says here, the Physicians Guild hosts annual white mass and installs new officers. See that? New officers. The Mass installs new officers. Now listen to this. The annual White Mass is organized by Catholic physicians. See, the Guild is for those who work in the medical and healthcare fields. And it goes on, the profession calls them to be the guardians and servants of human life. Now this is what the Pope says here. This is right in the same article. This is what the Pope says. And the Pope goes on to say, it becomes manipulators of life and even agents of death, the Pope said. And again, you could find that at the Catholic Sun, the official Catholic newspaper, November 1st, 2007. Now we're to cover the red mass for the Supreme Court for St. Matthew's the Apostles, Washington, D.C. This is a caption right off C-SPAN. So now we're going to show you what the red mass is all about. For law, lawyers, Supreme Court. This is a picture of the red mass in 2006 red mass. And here you see they're taking a picture of what? Let's focus in and find out who this person is. This picture is a picture of Thomas More, Murderer More. And we'll cover what he did that was so disgusting that he killed the Protestants and the Lutherans for bringing in the Bible to the common man. And here you see in the red mass, they're here celebrating the death of the Protestants. This is out of the encyclopedia Thomas More. They made a movie of him, a play in the 50s. They'd written a 50s play about the life of More, and they called it The Man of All Seasons. Of course, More was knighted, and whenever you're knighted, you're a military servant of ancient Rome. That's a definition of the Webster Dictionary. And it goes on about Thomas More. More coined the word utopia. So you say utopia, you wonder where it came from. Well, it came out of his book that was written in 1516. He wrote his most famous and controversial work. In utopia, private property does not exist. Did you get that? It doesn't exist. It's a totalitarian, I can't get that out of my mouth, society. The likeness between Karl Marx and the later vision of the ideal communism, More's utopia in regards to individual property can be drawn. So you could say that Cuba is a perfect illustration of church and state. There's no freedom. But basically, besides him writing that book, basically is communism, or a fascist state, he burned, when he was Lord Chancellor for 3 years, under the King Henry VIII in Great Britain, he burned 6 Lutherans were burned at the stake, and he imprisoned as many as 40 others. His concern was to wipe out all collaborators of William Tyndale, the exiled Lutheran, who in 1525 had published a Protestant translation of the Bible in English. So he killed those who tried to get the Bible into the common man's language and smuggle it into Great Britain. He killed those people. And now for his great work, look with the Catholic Church here, Thomas Murderer More was canonized in the Catholic Church, that declared the patron saints of politicians and statements by the Pope. So now you can pray. You can pray to this devil. This is St. Thomas More Catholic Chapel and Center at Yale University, where George Bush became Skull and Bones at Yale University. It's no surprise that Murderer More, St. Thomas More, which is he's right here, and here's a photograph inside the Catholic Chapel at Yale University displaying St. Thomas Murderer More, and it fascinates me that they name a chapel after this man who has killed anybody that tried to get the Bible into the common man. It's sickening. Here's the Thomas More Society, and this is what Thomas More did. He burned all the Bibles and executed those who tried to get the Bible in the common man's hand. There's Thomas Murderer More. Of course, now we have the majority of Catholics on the Supreme Court. It's called the Pope's Dream Team. 5 of the 9 Supreme Court justices are Roman Catholic. So when they vote to take your guns away, you know who's behind it all. And here's George W. Bush at the 52nd, right here. He's at the 52nd Annual Red Mass in Washington, D.C., a historical tradition within the Catholic Church is held on Sunday before the opening session of the Supreme Court. Every year, they get together and they celebrate Thomas Murderer More. And here you see the Supreme Court Justice, and here's George Bush, and there it is, the Red Mass is Laura Bush. And there's Thomas Murderer More. And here he is displayed right on the plaque of that picture. There he is right there. There he is. Thomas Murderer More right there. And it's sick. They're taking pictures of this great demon that wouldn't let people have the Bible. Pictures from the Red Mass. The new President Monson of the LDS Church was comparing Gordon B. Hinckley, the late prophet of the LDS Church, to Thomas Murderer More at the funeral of Hinckley. I got this recorded and I was just fell off my chair, because when you know history and he's comparing people with this murderer, why is the LDS President Monson comparing Gordon B. Hinckley to Thomas Murderer More, unless he is part of them? This is a funeral of Saturday, February 2nd, 2008. And this is what President Monson says. Most of you will remember. Well, most people don't remember. So why is he saying most of you remember? Learning of St. Thomas More, an English Statements, an author of an earlier period who was steadfast and cleaving unto his beliefs. He was called a man for all seasons. Amidst the conflict of our time and the turbulence of our seasons, our Heavenly Father has provided for us a man for all seasons. His name is Gordon B. Hinckley. So why is he bringing in Thomas More and comparing him to Gordon B. Hinckley at the funeral? I mean, this is really sick. Here's Thomas Murderer More burning all the Bibles. This is terrible to even be compared to this man. And right here is Gordon B. Hinckley at BYU with mass murderer Dick Cheney. And, of course, fuel, that's a good one. It's coming out. There's no way a building can free fall and kill all those people without these were all in bed together. Dick Cheney. And so he got the honorary degree for public service at BYU in April of 2007. I got that on tape. And so it's just sickening how all this is going on in front of people and they just can't see it. Of course, you have Governor Mike Leavitt, who's LDS. He's also at the Red Mass. Interesting. This is the pamphlet of the Blue Mass. Interesting. Now we go in white. We discovered the physicians. agents of death. We talked about the red mass, the lawyers, and court system is controlled. They celebrate the Supreme Court and the death of the Protestants, the war against them. And now we have the blue mass. And look at this. This is unbelievable. What are they trying to renew, remember, and rejoice? Is the destruction of the Twin Towers? This is 2005 brochure here. And I'll pull away so you can see the whole thing. Look at that. Blue mass. Rejoice, renew, remember. And here you see the destruction. And it's all symbolic of the Protestant war against those who want to read and worship the true God. Here's the blue mass, and here you got the police and fire department right here. And here it is, the Knights of Columbus to host the blue mass, February 24, 2005. See that? Hundreds of firefighters and officers come to this Catholic Mass. And so I looked up the word knight in the Webster Dictionary, and it says the definition of knight is ancient Roman military servant. And I looked up the Knights of Columbus in the dictionary. It says it's a fraternal of men, the Society of Roman Catholic Men, founded in 1882. So everything is Roman Catholic. You know, why do they call it knight? Knight is an ancient Roman military servant of ancient Rome. So you got the Knights and the Catholics. They're all mixed in together of this blue mass. So now you know, the red, white, and blue, you're under control. This is Knights of Columbus, and here's their fasciae, the bundle of reeds with the axe projected. And this is what Mussolini compared his followers to the rods of the fasciae. He said, quote, each rod by itself may be weak, but when many rods are bound together, they are strong. So there he is. He's got the fascia, the New World Order coming together, where all the nations are bound together under this fascist dictatorship that's coming. And here you got the Knights of Columbus here in the Lodge of New York. And look what you got. One of the patches right there, sewn right on them, is the skull and crossbones. It's all linked together, people. Here's George Bush over here with the Grand Knight Carl A. Anderson. And here you got the blue mass right here with the police and firemen, the Knights of Columbus. His name is Catholic Cardinal McCarrick at the blue mass. And of course you have George, and they're all members of the Skull and Bones, taking the sacrament and everything under the Catholic Church. I mean, we need to wake up. You see how it's all interlinked? This is this is where the Black Pope resides at the Church of St. Ignatius in Rome, Ignatius Loyola in Rome. And here's the painting on the ceiling. And you notice that here's Jesus still bearing his cross, but the light is not emanating from him. The light is emanating off of Loyola, the first general of the Jesuits. See the rays coming off him? And here's Jesus bearing his cross, but no light coming off him. And they're just out in the open with who's in power here. This is big news. This is from the Times UK, November 16, 2007. And here, listen to this. The Vatican joins historical talks to end a 950-year rift with the Orthodox Church. They're going to sign a joint document that acknowledges the primacy of the Pope. See that? We got the false prophets, which is rising. It says a reunified church in which the Pope could be the most senior patriarch among the various Orthodox churches. The restoration of the unified church. The article goes on, it says if the proposal moves forward, the Pope would be acknowledged as this universal primate. See? Universal. Catholic and universal are one and the same. Isn't that interesting? Of course, infallibility. And then it goes on and says, after Rome and Constantinople, Moscow is agreed to be the third of the hierarchy of equals. So here you see World War III. You see that Moscow is going to be the army. It's going to ride the red horse to destroy America. And one-third of mankind in Revelations 9. And this is what patriarch, since the Pope is going to be acknowledged as the patriarch, we had to look that up in the dictionary. It says the father and ruler of a family. Usually it applies to the progenitors of Israelites, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the sons of Jacob, or the heads of the family before the flood. So the head of the family of Israel is what the Pope is being set up to become. Sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place, but I don't have a script. I'm just going. I got so much information. I'm going to leave a lot out. But here you got Charlemagne, who's the king. So the Holy Roman Empire means that the holy part of the empire is the Pope. So the Pope is the holy one, and the Roman Empire is the king or emperor. And so you got two heads of the snake. You got the Pope and the king right here. Let me back it up here. You got both the church and the state. And so you got the church and the state here. You got the church and the state here. And so this is the two heads of the snake. So ever since the legs of iron were mixed in with clay, you have the clay, which is the church, and the iron, which is the state. And as you see here, there's the iron cross. The iron is the state, the iron in the cross, and the cross is the church, thus iron cross. It's kind of interesting. So all I'm trying to say is you got church and state mixture in the feet, as Nebuchadnezzar's dream is in Daniel, and so I'm just saying that you have the church and state relationship. There's always been two heads of the beast that was prophesied by Daniel from 800 AD all the way up to the coming Fourth Reich. And out of the feet of clay you got 10 toes. And after World War III will rise the 10 toes, or kingdoms, and out of them will rise the Antichrist out of the Fourth Reich. So as you see here, we have the First, Second, and Third Reich, and after World War III will rise the Fourth Reich, and there'll be 10 kingdoms, or when the earth is divided into 10 regions. And out of this will come the Antichrist, will come out of these 10 kings. Remember in DVD number 2, I talked about how the Vatican is going to be destroyed so they can relocate to Jerusalem. This is out of the BBC, Tuesday, July 17th, 2007. And it says here that the ancient library, Vatican library, to close. And it won't be reopened until September 2010. Now it's interesting. Well, it's 37 miles long. My gosh, that's really long. 37 miles of books and documentation. And anyway, it says here in the article, it says the Vatican Library to close on May of 2007. So they've been ahead of us. They've been closing it. So when people see renovations going on at the Vatican, they see the murals taken down, the books being removed, they can say, oh, we're renovating the building. And little do they know they can actually take those books and paintings and smuggle them out to somewhere safe. Anyway, it says here in the article, the decision to shut down the library was made without warning. It won't reopen until 2010. So the real reason is to move out the library out to a safe location, because during World War III the Vatican will be bombed and after relocated to Jerusalem. And of course you have Roman too. So somewhere between October 2008 and before September 2010 there will be World War III. So coming out of the 10 toes here, or 10 kings after World War III, and of course we know that all of the clay is the church have all been the popes, or the Catholic popes, and out of the Holy Roman Empires, the first, second, third Holy Roman Empires always came out of Germany. So we could see that this European Union, whoever's going to become the president of the European Union, is a good possibility he may be the Antichrist. So you got the false prophet, which is the Pope, and you got the Antichrist, which is whoever is the leader of the European Union coming out of the Holy Roman Empire, as you see here. Because the emperor is going to be subject and loyal to the false prophet, which is the Pope. And Tony Blair is being compared to George Washington. This is the February 9, 2008 out of Europe. And as you see here, he is a candidate to be the new first president of the European Union. And he may be the Antichrist. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm going to back up a little bit to Nebuchadnezzar's dream recorded in Daniel. It says here the lion is basically Great Britain, the bear is Russia, the eagle is the United States, and then it talks about the leopard. And the leopard is the Vatican New World Order because the four heads of the leopard represents the First Reich, the Second Reich, Hitler's famous Third Reich, and now the Fourth Reich, which is now rising. It says the prophecy tells us that dominion was given unto the leopard. And so basically, here you can see the prophecies that it's all coming down to the Fourth Reich, the four heads of the leopard. I want to talk about some huge prophecy nobody's talking about, but Zechariah's prophecy about heaving Jerusalem away. And the Lord says in Zechariah that when you heave Jerusalem away, the Lord will cut the nations into pieces. And here you see April 21st, 2008, Jimmy Carter held a meeting at the Council of Foreign Relations in Jerusalem, Israel Council of Foreign Relations, and they're working on establishing a Palestinian state. See right here? You go on to the article, it says Israel, which evacuated Gaza in 2005, has accepted the idea of a Palestinian state, and that's going to heave Jerusalem away. It says Hamas, remember they were doing the Roman salute, said they would accept a Palestinian state on the 1967 borders. And it goes on, Hamas would not oppose a Palestinian state in the West Banks of Gaza. This is the proposal here, is to heave Jerusalem away and create a Palestinian state. And of course Zechariah says as soon as they heave Jerusalem away, the Temple Mount, the Western Wall, everything's going to give it to the Arabs. As soon as that happens, this is what the Lord says. This is out of WorldNet Daily, October 18, 2007. Zechariah warning to Bush and Condi, Hal Lindsey says. And they started out with the Annapolis meeting in November here in America. And it says here, for the first time, a division of Jerusalem is on the table. Since 1967, Israel had steadfastly claimed to a united Jerusalem as an eternal capital, never to be divided again. And the article continues. Down here, he goes on into Zechariah's prophecy. Hal Lindsey says, I fear for my beloved country. They may be ignorant of prophecy God made 2,500 years ago through the Hebrew prophet Zechariah. It applies to this precise time and situation. The article goes on in history. God says, quote, behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of drunkenness to all surrounding peoples. And it says the people surrounding Jerusalem are all the current Muslim nations. Now listen to this. These are the exact conditions Zechariah predicted would be part of the last stage of this age. He goes on to say, he continues, and it shall happen in that day that it will make Jerusalem a very heavy stone for all peoples, meaning the entire world. Now listen to this. This is the punchline. All who would seek to heave it away will surely be cut into pieces. As soon as you heave Jerusalem away, it shall surely be cut into pieces. And this is the World War III we're looking at. 1/3 of the population will die. That's 2 billion people. That's in Revelations 9:15 through 21. Talks about 1/3 of the population will die. And it's going to happen at the end of this year. We're going to get into George Bush's talk. This is George Bush's. He delivers in the State of the Union address. Okay? This is January 28, 2008. Now he's delivering this address to the world. And now listen to what he says in his address. He says a peace agreement that defines a Palestinian state, listen to this, by the end of this year. He's telling them we're going to have an agreement that's going that defines a Palestinian state is going to happen at the end of this year. He's talking about the end of this year, 2008. And of course, this is not peace. This is Zechariah's warning to Bush. And this is going to be all who would seek to heave away Jerusalem away will surely be cut into pieces. So we're having World War III coming, and this is serious, and people are sleeping. Of course, Al Lindsay says, I warned them both to stop it before it's too late, talking about World War III. This is July of 2007. This was all over the news. It says, the Pope says, if you're not Catholic, then you're not in the true church. So it seems like we're going back into medieval days where the Catholic Church would kill you and inquisition you and torture you for not acknowledging the true church. So here the Roman Pontiff, he says here that the Protestants cannot be called churches. See that? And it goes on, the Orthodox Church suffers from a wound because it did not recognize the primacy of the Pope, adding the wound was still more profound among the Protestant denominations. And the Pope goes on, except the Pope is your leader, then the church you are in is illegitimate. If you don't accept the church, if you don't accept the Pope as your leader, then the church you are in is illegitimate. So here it is. Daniel talked about how there was a wound that was suffered in Revelations, and now the wound is being healed, and the Pontiff is just coming out and saying, look, here's the wound, and as soon as you accept me to be your Pope, to accept the primacy of the Pope, then the wound will be healed. And so this is what it's all about, a church and state relationship of marriage between only two. Back to Thomas Murderer More. There's a book about South America converting the Indians. The conquistadors of Spain arrived in the new region. They lined up the inhabitants and read them a proclamation. They told them about the institution of the papacy and the Pope's donation. And those who were subdued by force, and some fled to freedom, and they were usually recaptured. And here you see this ancient painting down there that they found that shows the Indians being baptized. And here's the Roman priest. That's why everybody speaks Spanish down there in Latin America, is because they were all forced to, and to heed the Pope as their vicar of Christ. Anyway, here they're baptized, and when they wasn't baptized, see, they were burned at the stake. So here you see the Indians being burned at the stake. Anyway, the article goes on to say that some of the missions were modeled on the utopia of Thomas Murderer More. Isn't that fascinating? The converting of the Indians. You don't hear this in your history books, do you? A friend of mine got this in the mail. This is St. Joseph Indian School. This is a Catholic school. And it's interesting here, you got the church and state. See, you got the iron cross here. Instead of having the swords as the king, you have the arrows. So you got the church and state right there in the emblem. And inside this, they have these little things. Treat the earth well, blah, blah, blah. It says we do not inherit the earth, blah, blah, blah. So they're into the New Age earth worship stuff. So the Catholic Church, runs this Indian school, and it's all about, this is February 7th, 2008, and, this is all about earth worship, New Age. The newspaper out of the UK, 10/3 of 2008, and this is what the Vatican said. It says here, recycle or go to hell, warns the Vatican. And it says here, failing to recycle plastic bags could find you spending eternity in hell. Isn't this fascinating? The Vatican says. So here you got the New Age earth worship stuff, that if you don't recycle and treat the earth, then you're going to hell. So this is one of their new sins that they came out with. Stand. This is the mercury dime made in the U.S., made between 1916 and 45, called the mercury dime. The composition is 90% silver and 10% copper, which now that's money. It's not phony garbage you have today. But here, look at this. I looked up the word mercury in the dictionary. It says it's a Roman god. Listen to that. A Roman god of commerce. Focus in on here a little bit. A Roman god of commerce. It's also cunning and a theft who serves as a messenger to the other gods. It's the 8th planet, one nearest to the sun, S-U-N. So here is the Mercury god. It's a messenger between Rome and God. And here we're going to look up this word fasci in the dictionary. Here it is, fasci. And a bundle of rods, and among them an axe with the projecting blade borne before ancient magistrates, Roman magistrates, as a badge of authority. So now we know that that's a badge of authority of ancient Rome. Here is Mercury, the mediator between the sun, the messenger between the sun and Rome. And so I looked up the word dime in the dictionary, and this is what it says. It's a tithe. And basically, the dime is the tithing to Rome. Interesting. The Mercury is the mediator messenger between Rome and the sun god Baal. Baal worship the sun. So now you understand what the Mercury dime is. And here's a close-up of the Mercury dime. This is the 7 wonders of ancient world. And the first 2 is the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. This is the Hanging Gardens of Babylon here. And here it mirrors the LDS Conference Center. And here you can see that both have the terraces with trees on it. And so it's kind of interesting that the Gardens of Babylon mirrors the LDS Conference Center. And it says here the Hanging Gardens of Babylon were built about 2,500 years ago, built by Nebuchadnezzar to make his wife happy, blah, blah, blah. It was covered with flowers, trees, lawns, plants, fountains, pools, and miniature waterfalls. Had a series of terraces on top of one, on top of the other. So isn't that interesting that the LDS Conference Center, as you see right here, is a mirror image of the Gardens of Babylon. Here's another photograph of the LDS Conference Center that mirrors the Gardens of Babylon. There's a series of terraces. Now remember about the pyramids of Giza? Now there's a top shot of it. You can see it right there. There's another picture right there of the pyramids of Giza. I was standing right here when I took this picture, looking this direction towards the pyramid, and this is what I saw. And it looks just, here I am taking a picture, and it looks just like the Pyramid of Giza. See the pyramids in the background? With the brush and everything, looks just like that time warp. And here's another one right here. You could see the pyramids of Giza on top. Pretty fascinating, isn't it? You got to ask yourself, why would they put the pyramids of Giza on top of the Gardens of Babylon? And when the Lord is, in fact, the original Gardens of Babylon was destroyed by an earthquake, and it makes you wonder if this is not destined to be destroyed also by an earthquake. This is some of the pictures I took straight down from this building is Main Street. And on Main Street I took these pictures of more pyramids. And as you see right there, it looks like some evil woman on the side of that pyramid on Main Street. And then here's a closer picture of that pyramid, as you see right there. Now that doesn't look very, very Christian-like, does it? Here's a side picture, a reflection in the window of that pyramid on Main Street in Salt Lake City. And here you see that they cover the pyramids during the day, and then at night they take them off so they would illuminate. So you can see these illuminating at night. This is Deseret Morning News, February 5th, 2008. And this is the 16th president of the LDS Church, President Monson, the new LDS president. This is what he said. This is his second counselor, President Uchtdorf, said. He said this, quote, talking about the church, he said, "The faith is more than global. talking about the LDS Mormon faith. It is a universal church, he called it. And it says that has the power to combine and unite and bring all nations and ethnic groups together. So I looked up the word universal in the Catholic Encyclopedia, and this is what it says. The word Catholic is known throughout the whole, i.e. universal. So that's where the word Catholic comes from, is universal. And this is the Catholic Free Encyclopedia. It says Catholic is an adjective derived from the Greek adjective meaning general, universal church. And remember, the Jesuit Extreme Oath says that the Pope is Christ's vice-regent and is the only and true head of the Catholic or universal church. So that's kind of interesting that he called it a universal church. That's the definition of what Catholic means. Of course, Uchtdorf, LDS Second Council, wasn't the first one to say that we are drawing near and near to the universal church. This is Deseret News, May 1974. This is Spencer W. Kimball. And listen to what he says. He says, we are happy with the growth of members, effectively activity with stakes and missions overseas. Listen to what he says. I'll focus in. It is a world church. Listen. We believe we are getting nearer and nearer to the what? To the universal church. Why would he say something like that? He says it is a world church, and then he says we are getting nearer and nearer to the universal church. And if you look up the word Roman Catholic Church, then Uchtdorf comes in 2008 and says, oh, we are a universal church. So it's interesting how they come right out and they tell us that they're all in bed together, and few people question. This is a coin that was minted by the Vatican in 1455 through 58, and on the coin you could see here it's translated in Latin, and on here it says, translated into English, all kings shall serve him, meaning the Pope, because you got the image of the Pope on the front of the coin, and on the back of the coin is in Latin. As you see right there, there's the Pontiff coin on the back. Here, this translates into Latin, which says, all kings shall serve him. There you go, all kings shall serve him. It's a two-headed beast. The Pope is the spiritual head, and the king is the king, and he is subservient to the spiritual king that holds both the king, both temporal keys and spiritual keys. Very interesting, right there in your face. How many kings of the earth make mint a gold medal in the honor of the Pope? And here you see that the U.S. had a coin minted here after the Pope. Now you tell me how many religious leaders gets a king of the earth or even the U.S. Congress to mint a coin after the Pope. Interesting. Of course, this is the old days where the Pope is being escorted here, and there's his badge of authorities and everything. Anyway, I picked up this newspaper in Utah County, which is 95% Mormon, and this is a hospital here in Utah County, and here you see Utah Valley Regional Medical Hospital. It says here, this is where I got it from, and look at this. I mean, here you got the double cross right here. There's the double cross, and here's my ghostly father, the general of the Jesuits, because he's always the ghostly father. And here you have kind of a ghost, a shadow of this priest. It's interesting to me that when you got something that's 95% Mormon and then you got a Roman Catholic chapel inside of a hospital, it's kind of interesting. Got to remember that the hospitaler system, how it came to be called hospital, is because one of the Pope's militaries was called the Hospitalers. You got the Hospitalers, and then you had the Knights Templar. and the hospitalers were basically the physicians. And so everything is linked in history. There's so much information. Hopefully I just plant a seed in you so you can do your own homework. This is the original Santa Claus, BBC News, published in 2005, December 22nd, 2005, BBC. The article says Santa Pope, and it goes on, has been part of the papal wardrobe with white fur since the 12th century. Here they show you the same Santa outfit that the Pope's been wearing since the 12th century. And I want to show you a few things, the comparisons between Jesus Christ and Santa Claus, and we'll make a few observations here. It says here, Jesus has white hair like wool. In Revelations, Santa has white hair like wool. Jesus has a beard. In Isaiah 50 verse 6, Santa has a beard. Jesus comes in red apparel. In Isaiah 63, 1 through 2, Satan comes in red apparel. Jesus' hour of his coming is a mystery. Santa hour is coming as a mystery. Jesus comes from the north from where he lives. Santa comes from the north. I mean, this just goes on and on and on. He's just a counterfeiter. Jesus is a carpenter. Santa is a toy carpenter. Jesus comes as a thief in the night. Santa comes as a thief in the night. There's just no end to the copycatting, even his name. I mean, look at this. All you do is reverse just rearrange a few of the letters from Santa, rearrange it to Satan. It's a counterfeit. So the counterfeit, as you can see right here, I mean, everything about this guy is counterfeit. You know, I mean, it's just unbelievable. Anyway, there's a lot more to the story. This is very interesting. Look at the inverted stars here, the gold of Mendes. Remember, Jesus said in Matthew 25:33, the goat's on my left hand and the sheep on my right. And here's the gold of Mendes right here. And look at, this is the official seal of the GOP, of the Republican Party. And this was before 2000, and look after 2000. Look, they inverted the stars. Isn't that fascinating? Look at that. Doesn't anybody pay attention? Why did they invert the stars after 2000? And that's the way the logo looked before 2000. Now this is Hillary Clinton as she's running for president. And look at the stars on the flag. Look at that. Whoops. They're inverted. Look at that. They're inverted there. In another picture, there's Bill Clinton and his daughter, and there's Hillary. And look at that. Look, the stars are inverted. So we got the goat of Mendes. And that's what Jesus says. We'll have the goats on my left hand and the sheep on my right, in Matthew. This is the Tarot, the official tarot cards. And look at this. These are 1971. This is the original and only authorized edition of the tarot cards that the witches use. And look where they're printed. Printed in Switzerland, the Papal State. Remember, the Swiss Guard is the Pope's army. They protect the Pope. The Switzerland, that's where the Vatican Bank is located. With Rockefeller and Rothschilds and all that are guardians of the Vatican Bank. And here it's copyrighted 1971, right there. Now I'm going to show you some very interesting things right here. We already know what the Lord says about magic. Magic is of the devil, and you can find that in Deuteronomy 18, 9 verse 12, 9 through 12, and Mormon chapter 1, 16 through 19. And here's on the front cover is the magician. And here it says in Revelation 17:4 about the golden cup that the harlot uses. And of course you got the magic wand. And look at this. This is one of the cards. It's the Pope. Look, there's the Pope's tire crown. There's the three-finger salute right there. And right here, there's the keys, the temporal keys and the spiritual keys. And this is a picture of the Pope right on the tarot cards. Isn't that fascinating? This blew me away. Look at this, the tower. Holy cow, look, this is just like 9/11. You got to remember, these are 1971 cards. And that looks just like the Twin Towers coming down. Look at that. It's on fire. You know, people falling out to their deaths. And this is called the Tower. 1971. Right there. These were printed, copyrighted in 1971. Isn't that fascinating? That just blew me away. And then look at this card over here. Remember what the Lord said about the goat shall be on my left? Look at the symbols of the goat head on the tarot card. Look at the goat. See that? Jesus says the goat's on my left hand. And they purposely put the Satanism on the cards. This is like the Ouija board, but this is the card game called the tarot cards. So the Lord forbids us to tamper with these things. Some more cards in the deck. And here you see Satan. See, there's the inverted star right there. The goat head of Mendes right there. Of course, Satan has bondage because you got the chain between the male and the female. And of course, this looks like Eve. We've got the fruit here on the tail. And here's another card right here. Look at these different cards. Here's the sun, the worship of the sun. Here, this looks like Eve, because on this tree here looks like the forbidden fruit that she took. And here's the snake that tempted her to take the forbidden fruit. And on here you got Adam. And this looks like it could be the tree of life. You were kind of barred from it. But it's interesting. They call it the lovers. And just a bunch of interesting things here. Here's some more goat heads. The goat head in the chair. Right there's the goat head. Here's another tarot card. And here you see this card is called Death. And here's the Pope. Look at the Pope right here on the card. There's the Pope with the fish hat right here. And on this card over here, look at this. There's the fish, the Babylonian Pope fish hat. So you got the fish coming out. And it just looks just like his hat. See the hat there and the fish that goes back to Babylon. And the golden cup, you know, talks about the horror of Revelations. Revelation 17. Pretty fascinating. And then here's the satanic pyramid right there. And there's more of the golden cup. It's all part of the tarot cards. Here are the instructions of the tarot cards. And it's kind of interesting over here. It says, was a genuine scholar of the occultism who published the works include the Holy Kabbalah. And you notice that this book right here, Morals and Dogma, see, this was a Freemasonry book. This is all about the Kabbalah. Everything in here quotes the Kabbalah. See how they're linked? This is the front cover of the Morals and Dogma of Freemasonry, the 33rd degree, printed by Albert Pike. And here he is right here on this page. Let me flip the page just to prove to you that they quote the Kabbalah all over the place. Look at that. Kabbalah, 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 Kabbalah. So does it surprise you that the tarot cards, as it continues here, a scholar of occultism, has published works including the Holy Kabbalah. I'd be very careful and use the King James Version of the Bible, which is the most correct. More symbolisms on the tarot card. You got a guy's head here. Could be a saint beheaded, who knows. It could be a Jesuit underneath the cloth. Look at the snake. And right here, look. Just like there's a skull right there in the golden cup. There's another reptilian. You know, jewels, things of this world, jewels and pearls and gold and diamonds and everything. That's just perfect. That just amazes me what's on these cards. Of course, the worship of the sun and moon, the sun symbol, and there's, you know, could that be whose sun, who they worshiping? Of course, there's the military knight. Remember, those who could be crowned a knight, that they think it's really cool. Well, that equals a Roman military servant, and here he has the golden cup of horror of Revelations. Interesting on this card here, could that be Eve and the fruit? She's kind of like wearing some fruit or something on her clothing. Could that be the fruit of the Garden of Eden that she gave to Adam? Here's another tarot card, and this is kind of interesting on this card here. In Deuteronomy, it says they sinned against the Lord and made you a molten calf. And on this card here, look at that. Look at that. Whoops, back it up. Look, that's just like molten calves right on there. Isn't that fascinating? course, here you got the golden cup. There's the Babylonian sun-crossed Baal, and it's all on here. It's all religious war. This was in the card case. Here's some other links with it. You have, of course, Aquarian, Crowley. Those are those about Crowley Universal, Knight, Karma, Herbal, Medicine Woman. It goes on Native American, Old Path, Renaissance, Universal, Witches, Astrology. It goes on here. You got the Church of Light. It goes on the Mayan, the Tree of Life, the Chinese Dragon, the Philosopher's Stones, Harry Potter, Philosopher's Stone. It's kind of interesting. Fortune telling. So all these different things is just a trick of Satan, because he's the great counterfeiter, to get us sucked into his sorceries. Newt Gingrich used to be the Speaker of the House in Congress, and he compares the Jedi to the Jesuits. Remember, the Jesuits are the military organization of the general, the black general, the Pope. Anyway, the Jesuits, this is what he says. The Jedi to the Jesuits, calling them the Jesuits of the Star Wars world. And anyway, I'm going to show you that clip, so pay attention to what he says. Hi, my name is Dave Cleveland. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope and pray that you may be able to get this information out, and God bless you.